In 2025, Medicare Part A hospital costs are set to increase again. Most people say, well, wait, isn't Medicare Part A free? And while 99% of people do not pay any premium for Part A, there are deductibles and copays and things for it. Most people don't choose to spend a lot of time in the hospital, but unfortunately, situations occur, and a lot of times people have extended hospital stays they weren't planning on. So today we're going to go ahead and talk about some Medicare Part A hospital costs for those folks that really just some unfortunate event occurs and they have an extended stay in the hospital. So before we get into it, I do want to give a quick reminder as to what Medicare Part A does cover. So most people think of Medicare Part A as the hospital side of Medicare, the hospital insurance essentially. And what exactly does Part A cover? Well, like I just said, hospital. So all your coverage, your inpatient, various things like that. Additionally, hospice care. Continuing with the H's, we have home health care. And last but not least, we do have skilled nursing facility care. We have a squeaky marker for you today. So the question that I get all the time is Medicare Part A monthly premium. So as you may know, a lot of people and I did just reference, if you have paid taxes or your husband has and you've worked your 40 quarters, you do receive Medicare Part A at no cost. But I'll be frank, not everyone has had access to that. Maybe I'll give you one good example. I had one individual that had only been in the United States for a certain period of time, and he came to see us, and he had 38 and a half quarters. So he was 1.5 quarters away from that zero premium Part A. So let me show you what he would pay if he didn't get that extra 1.25. So if you have 30 to 39 quarters, which is 7.5 to 9.75 years, you would pay $285 per month for your Medicare Part A. So like that individual, if you don't work then until you get your 40 quarters, this is pretty significant every month for the rest of your life. That said, if you have less than 30 quarters, you would pay $518 per month for the rest of your life for that Part A, that Medicare Part A premium. So you can see these numbers get pretty significant. But if you or your spouse did have the 40 quarters that you worked, then you don't pay any of this and it's zero. So before we go into what the actual Part A costs look like for someone that's in an extended stay or really just any type of inpatient care, I want to go through a couple of quick terms just as a reminder. So first, you'll see here, the fixed amount you must pay before Medicare begins to cover your hospital expenses is a deductible. Next, after the deductible is met, a percentage of the cost for covered services is coinsurance. Next here, if you need more than 90 days of hospital care in a benefit period, you'll pay a higher coinsurance for each day. So this is a little complicated, but this is your lifetime reserve. And we'll talk about this in a few minutes. And last, blank is a period of time that starts on the day you're admitted to the hospital or skilled nursing facility and 60 days after you're discharged. And this is a benefit period. So now that we've kind of gone over what these terms are, let's go ahead and dive into what these costs are going to look like. Now that we've had a refresher on what those terms are, let's go ahead and see what the actual Part A costs are for 2025. So to start, the most important kind of thing to start with is the inpatient hospital deductible. So it is going to increase for 2025, like everything else in the world, to $1,676. Now, the one thing I think is important to mention when it comes to the inpatient hospital deductible. So in just a minute ago, I spoke about benefit periods, and we said that 60 days is the Part A hospital benefit period. So the thing to keep in mind with this inpatient hospital deductible, the $1,676, is that is per benefit period. Most people think deductible and just think annual. So unfortunately, when you're on Medicare Part A, it is actually per benefit period. So what that means is, let's say in January something happens and you are admitted to the hospital, you were in there for a few days, you would pay this $1,676 at that point. Well, let's say you get out and you're healthy, you're fine. Something happens again the beginning of May. So you've been out of the hospital for 60 days and you go back into the hospital. Well, unfortunately, the way that this is all structured, you would actually pay this $1,676 again because that 60-day benefit period was over. So it's really important to remember that this deductible is per benefit period, not for the year like a lot of deductibles typically are. So the daily hospital coinsurance for the 61st to 90th day, in 2024, it was $408. This year, it is going to be $419. So the way that that works is they say, all right, days 1 through 60, we got it. You pay your deductible, you pay your 80, 20, et cetera. Well, if you're still there 61 to 90 consecutively, that 419, you would go ahead and dip into and pay for that then at that point. So that gets to be pretty significant as well. In addition to that, the daily hospital coinsurance for the lifetime reserve days, which is above the 90, that is increasing from $816 to $838. Frankly, this is going to be such an expensive situation that if you're in anyway, that the additional $22 is really not going to be your problem. It's the $800 per day that's really going to get you there. So then last, the skilled nursing facility, the daily coinsurance, so days 1 through 20, like I said earlier, is covered. Then days 21 to 100, you're going to go from $204 to $209.50. And that's important to note as well. Now, the question that I get all the time is, these are some very serious and very large sums of money. So this is just for individuals on original Medicare. This does not come into effect if you're on a Medicare Advantage plan or a Medicare Supplement. So briefly, I want to kind of explain how all of this would work with that. So if you're on a Medicare Advantage plan, we have several other videos that explain the difference between the Medicare Advantage plans and the Medicare Supplements. And I would really encourage you to kind of watch those if you're trying to remember which one you're on or which one you're looking at. But the Advantage plans, as a quick reminder, they are network-based and they're typically little to no monthly premium, but then they have copays for everything throughout the year. So on the hospital side, the way that would work is most of these plans have little to no deductible, but they have a set dollar amount for every day that you're inpatient in the hospital or in a skilled nursing facility, et cetera. So you would maybe pay days 1 through 5, and then 5 and on would be covered, et cetera. Now, on the Medicare Supplement side, these work very different. Those are the ones that typically have a higher monthly premium. You have to buy the Part D drug plan separately, and there's no networks. You can go see anyone that accepts Medicare. These plans typically have little to no deductibles, coinsurance, et cetera, throughout the year. So you might pay a very small deductible and everything else theoretically might be covered if you're in the hospital on one of those. So really, that's one of the reasons we absolutely recommend that you take a look at a Medicare Supplement or a Medicare Advantage plan, because you can see that these costs, they just get very large very, very quickly. So one thing that I do want to cover today, and we get a lot of questions about, is if you are in the hospital, what additional protection is available to you and what potentially could help you get through this tough time. And really, we've seen 2 alternatives or 2 options that I do want to address today briefly. Really, I just want you to know what your options are. We don't necessarily sell a ton of these plans, but it's something that could help you if you were in this circumstance. So I think it's worth addressing. The goal of all of our videos is just to make you aware of what your options are and what this really looks like, because we know that it's a lot navigating all of this experience. So first, I want to go through hospital indemnity insurance. So essentially what hospital indemnity is, it's supplemental insurance that provides a fixed daily cash benefit. You'd get, maybe a few $100s per day directly to you for every day that you're hospitalized. So the way that it works is it helps you offset the out-of-pocket expenses, deductibles, copays, some of the things I've talked about today in this video, when you get a lump sum payment each day, kind of like how I mentioned. So the cost, it varies. You do pay a small premium monthly for this. So what the real benefits are with this plan are, first is the gaps. It essentially fills in the gap between what Medicare pays and what you're responsible for. Second is the flexibility. You know, these lump sum payments that you're going to receive, you can pay these for, is it medical expenses? Does it help pay rent or utilities? Are you out of work because you're in the hospital and it can help cover some of the lost wages, etc. And then last but not least is, frankly, it's just the extra protection and the extra peace of mind that's provided. Knowing that if you are in the hospital, if something were to occur, you would receive that daily lump sum amount to help offset some of these costs or some of those living expenses. It really just goes a long way to help you have more peace of mind. The additional type of coverage that we did want to mention today is cancer insurance. And essentially what cancer insurance is it's not unlike hospital indemnity. It is supplemental insurance that provides specific benefits to help cover costs associated with cancer. Really at the end of the day, the way that this works is there's cash benefits. Like the hospital indemnity, there is a set dollar amount per day that you could receive if you're in the hospital. The second one here is direct payments. Unlike paying it all to you, this one, you can go ahead and have some of these payments paid directly to the hospital, to a medical provider, additional services you need, chemo, radiation, etc. And then the last one here is supplemental benefits. And when it comes to cancer, this one is really important to mention because this will help you cover things like transportation, wigs, various things that pop up that when you're facing cancer, you really just don't want to have to deal with. So that could also help as well. So, the benefits of this, like with the hospital indemnity plan, are the financial assistance, the peace of mind, the flexibility, and as with the other option, the cost does vary. You do pay a small premium and it is monthly. So, the thing that we really want you to take away is no one plans on getting sick. No one plans on spending a long time in the hospital. But these are some options that are available to you in the event that that does occur. In my family, we had an uncle this year that spent over a month in the hospital. And while he was on an option that he was taking care of, for a lot of people, they're not necessarily. So this is something that I think really can help a lot of people. And at the end of the day, you buy insurance in case something happens to you. So we want you to know what all of your options are to be prepared in the event that something does happen. So to wrap this video up today, what we really want you to know is that, like everything else in 2025, the Medicare Part A costs are going up. The deductibles, the copays, if you pay a premium, all of those costs are continuing to increase. But what I really want you to take away from this video is by ensuring that you're on the right health insurance and the right coverage for your specific needs, you're not going to have to worry about a lot of these costs that I've talked about today. And, I do want you to know too, that even if you are confident in your health insurance and your options that you're on, these hospital indemnity and cancer policies are here in the event that something were to happen. At the end of the day, give us a call. We're here to help. We're more than happy to talk you through all of this. And frankly, I hope you all stay healthy and don't need this coverage anyway.